and welcome to the 64th episode of the Autoblog Podcast. I'm your host, John Neff, and with me, as they are every week, is Damon Labyrinth and Alex Nunez. How you guys doing tonight?
Very well. Completely terrible.
Actually, I've been sick for a week, and I'm just starting to get over it, so I'm a little terrible, but getting better. Improving by the day. But don't cry for me because we have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get to it before we waste anybody else's any more time of our readers. First story on the agenda is the 2008 Chevy Corvette, which GM debuted kind of quietly to a select group of media. Fortunately, we were part of that group. And they debuted it at the Bowling Green facility in Bowling Green, Kentucky, famous Corvette headquarters of the world. And the changes, I would say, are minimal in terms of the aesthetics, but pretty significant in terms of the mechanicals, because we have the debut of the new LS3 V8, which bumps up the horsepower in the base Corvette to 430 horsepower, which is, that's insane. I remember the day back in the 90s when the Viper was coming out, and it was on magazine cover after magazine cover for months and months, and the biggest thing in the world because it had 400 horsepower from its giant V10 engine. And now the base Corvette, the poor man's exotic car, has 430 out of the gate. That's just insane to me.
Yeah, they're keeping up with the Joneses, and from all accounts, the new engine is looking to be one of the best they put out next to the one that's in the Z06. The one thing I kind of contest with your opening comment though about it mainly being mechanical, I think the other thing that had a lot of focus on is the interior, which we can talk about in a bit. But
the interior is a lot better. Well, let's go to the interior because I haven't had too much of a time. I read Jonathan Ramsey was our blogger who got to go to this event to see it, and I noticed he commented on the leather-covered dash, which is nice, but he also mentioned that there's not a lot of foam padding behind the leather, so it's still kind of like a hard thunk when you hit the dash.
Yeah, I think it's still hard thunk or not, though. That stitched leather looks so much better than the plastic, because the last C5 I was in, I'm sorry, not C5, C6, is, it's an awesome car and everything, but the interior was, on the chintzy side.
No,
and
the interior is
leather,
the weak point.
This leather, this looks really nice in the vein of the proper, Cadillac cut and sew deals.
Well, yeah, it looks like underneath it all, though, I think it's still a cheap interior. I think one thing Jonathan mentioned was that it looks great, but it doesn't necessarily feel like that cut and sew job on the Cadillacs.
It's not like you're going to be knocking on the interior when you're letting the thing pin you to the seat as you floor it. So.
Well, quite honestly, I think everyone knows that it's not even an Achilles heel, but the one reason why the Corvette is as inexpensive as it is because they don't throw tons of money in the interior.
No.
Because it's like, what do you want? Do you want world-class performance, or, do you want seat warmers and, all that stuff?
And just think for a moment, back to the late 80s and through the 90s of the bizarre interiors that, have, traipsed through the Corvette. This interior is so good compared to the stuff that, people were accustomed to for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I think the thing that I took away from Jonathan's article more than anything else is the GM has recognized the fact that their interior is kind of moribund, and they're trying to improve it, and this is just the first step in a series of steps, and I think he kind of alluded to that several times in the article, that this was the beginning.
Well, like with a lot of GM cars that are in transition between old GM and new GM, they have to do something to make it more of the new GM in the Corvette. Because quite honestly, more of the stuff, because a lot of the stuff that's coming out is far and away better than what the Corvette's interior is. A lot of the less expensive Chevy vehicles.
You're not going to see them do a big investment now, because when the C7 comes out, I'm sure you'll see much more
improvement.
Much more thought out and revamped approach to the interior.
And from what I've heard, I quite honestly, I expect the C7's price to go up a good chunk from the C6. And from what I've heard, since, we're going to get the Blue Devil Corvette, which is going to be kind of like the last hurrah of the C6, and probably going to be 700 horsepower, supercharged, and it's going to have some mechanical bits from the C7 in terms of the engine and things like that. But when the C7 comes out, from what I hear, the base engine for that is going to be up near 500 horsepower, near the Z06 levels right now. So, I mean, when you said keeping up with the Joneses at the beginning, this horsepower war is the new Joneses, and look how fast it's progressing. It's progressing in 100 horsepower chunks year by year.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long that can...
4 years, yeah.
Yeah. It's not just sports cars at this point either. I mean, it's these, sports sedans, it's everything. It's really, everybody is like throwing it all on the table right now, as far as sports cars is concerned.
One thing we should mention, too, is that the LS3 in the base vet is 430 horsepower, but you can get this new, this high-flow exhaust system that has, that improves breathing and adds another 6 horsepower. So you can actually...
butterfly valves, that's the one that's pulled from the Z06, if I recall.
Yeah, so that goes up to 436 horsepower, and from what Jonathan said, gives it a much nicer exhaust tone. If you like it loud and in your face.
There were a couple blurbs that Jonathan threw in that I thought were really, really interesting, just about the fact that the engineers are pretty much, they've gone as far as they can with the current block, the LS3 block, without having to, utilize force induction. I think that's going to be the next step, and we already know it's going to be coming soon enough with the Blue Devil.
Yeah, I think that's a clear indication the Blue Devil is going to be supercharged. I guess, is it going to be a supercharged version of this engine, or the Z06 engine, the 7 liters?
We would assume it's going to be the Z06 engine, yeah.
Yeah, I would assume too. I should also mention the LS3 is 6.2 liters, which is a little bit of a bump over the previous generation 6.0 liters. So that's growing in size too. And $10 says it'll still get like 30 miles per gallon on the highway, which is insane.
Right. Well, that's the nice thing about a lot of the things that's going on with the horsepower wars right now is they're still maintaining really, really good fuel economy, and they're still maintaining, lower emissions. So, we're staying at the status quo as far as that stuff is concerned, and still getting more power out of it, which I think is quite a cool deal.
Well, it's funny because I think it's a great achievement, but I bet if we got some of our Autoblog Green colleagues on, they might argue that it's a huge disappointment, because we've maintained the status quo, let's say, in miles per gallon, maybe gone down a little bit overall on average, literally across the industry, but horsepower has jumped tremendously, and to us it's amazing that it's jumped that far, while miles per gallon have remained steady or dropped even just a little. But at the same time, emissions have improved so much. So it's just funny that we might say that's a great achievement, but I bet those guys would say, it's a wasted opportunity to, send miles per gallon through the roof. So we have the new Corvette out. It's got a couple more years left in it. We're going to get the Blue Devil pretty soon.
The new Corvette.
I'm really interested in where they're going to go with the design on a C7. The Corvette's been, they've kept this line of design through the C4, and even earlier, really.
It's going to be evolutionary.
It's just amazing how far this design has evolved. I love the C6. I love that it got so much smaller compared to the C5, because that thing was just a fat pig, and this one just got so much tighter, so much tauter, much better design. And nobody's crying about the fixed headlamps now.
No. At least they're worries.
Yeah.